Shelby Swanson, welcome to the Sport Profile.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to chat.
Me too. You know, you were just mentioning you just finished up a UNC men's basketball, right?
That's right. Yeah, UNC men's basketball. So, yeah, it was a press conference. We got to speak with two of the freshmen that are going to be on this year's team. So, yeah, really, really exciting. They've been rolling out a few new players pretty much every week for us, just because there's about 10 or 11 new guys, whether, like, if you're counting scholarship or not, on the team. And so that's a lot of new faces. So in years past, they might have just had a media day where they have all the guys there spread across the court in the Dean Dome. But in talking to the UNC men's basketball SID, Steve Kirshner, who UNC legend, by the way, I mean, an encyclopedia of basketball knowledge. He also operates the Carolina Basketball Museum. Anyway, speaking to him, he was kind of telling us, yeah, we think that would be just super overwhelming if we brought everyone out and put them on the court, because it's, 10, 11 new guys that you want to talk to. So they've been rotating them out a little bit week by week.
That's interesting.
And so, yeah, it's been really great just to kind of get to know the guys and a little bit about them, how the team is meshing, what do they see as sort of their play style, their role in the upcoming team. So it's been really exciting, obviously, as we're kind of entering that November basketball football overlap zone, which is about to be madness, but I'm really excited.
I'm sure. Let's dive in a little bit more with UNC.
Yeah,
You're
for sure.
very entrenched within the university. You went there as a student. Your parents both went there. Was it UNC or bust for you?
As a beat writer or as a student?
Yeah, just like picking colleges. Like, did you have any other options, or were your parents like, you're going here?
Oh, yeah. Well, okay, so it kind of came down to UNC and Northeastern in the end, which is based up in Boston, but UNC was just way cheaper, as you can imagine, in-state tuition, public university. So I know folks that have gone to both colleges and love both of them, but it kind of came down to that. So I think it was not so much my parents telling me you're going to UNC, but they showed me the difference in tuition, also the difference in, rent prices in Boston versus Chapel Hill. And they said, all right, what do you think is maybe the better decision for you? Just keeping these numbers in mind. I said, yeah, okay, I see where you're coming from. And honestly, it was such a great decision, because I think that I had a great experience at UNC's J School, and also in particular working for the student paper, the Daily Tar Heel, which just has such a great alumni network. So many esteemed folks that have come through the student paper, and obviously so many really excellent and interesting sports teams to report about. So, for somebody that wanted to go into sports media, sports journalism, it was a great choice, and I liked it so much that I've decided to sort of stick around the area, albeit in a different capacity now, working full-time for the News and Observer, so I can't stay away.
That's interesting, too. Why do you think the area has had such an impact on you?
It's a really great question. I mean, I think that I don't know if I can say why.
Maybe there isn't a reason.
No, I mean, I think there definitely is, but it's just something it's sort of like asking me, why I breathe air, or why the sky's blue. Like, it's, you know what I mean? Like, it's all I've ever known. So
sure,
I don't know. I might that might be like a late night kind of just shower thoughts as I'm like reflecting or journaling, and so I might get back to you on that one, why it's had such an impact. I mean, but I think genuinely it's just a really great place to grow up. I think that there's sort of the feeling of Southern hospitality here. I think that in general the Triangle is a very accepting place, a lot of opportunity. It's a really fast growing area, especially with the
the Triangle?
The Triangle.
What is that?
Oh, you're not familiar? Oh, come on.
No.
Okay, so the Triangle is Raleigh, Durham, Chapel Hill, so that sort of area in the middle of the state. So, you have Duke, you have NC State, you have UNC, just a lot of great universities, institutions. You meet so many new people that have so many varied interests just in the area. You have now I'm just kind of doing a North Carolina in general plug, but you
We're
have
about to
mountains
get
on
it.
one
We're about to
side.
get into some lore here.
You get the beach on the other side. It's just, I mean, it's a lovely area, and I think that as somebody that I grew up, both of my parents are public school teachers, and so you have really great school systems here. And again, just being so close to so many really top tier universities. If you're a curious person and you love learning, which I do, it's a great and nurturing place to be. Really great sports, really big, obviously hoop states, one of my favorite sports to play, cover, watch. So I guess those are some of the reasons, but I really have never had anyone ask me that, so I apologize. It's probably not the most insightful answer.
So we're about to get into some lore here. What is the piece of like UNC or like overall like North Carolina lore that like not many people know, or like only somebody who lives in the state would know?
Okay. Well, maybe just the type of barbecue that we have here. It's like the more like Eastern, like vinegar based barbecue. So there's a lot of, I think, kind of internal debate amongst us and what is the best kind of barbecue. And there are a lot of North Carolinians that really, they hang their hat on that vinegar based barbecue versus maybe more of, if you think like a Kansas City or traditional kind of like barbecue sauce, that's more that kind of tomato paste.
What are you grabbing first?
Okay, I'm not gonna lie. I got the Sweet Baby Ray's in my fridge right now, so that's
we love really Sweet Baby Ray's.
Well, right, but it's not. I might get some hate because it's not, the vinegar based. But
what?
Okay, well,
you're beloved in Jersey.
Thank you. Well, shout out Jersey, I guess, but
well, that's where I'm from. So
okay, well, yeah, shout out Jersey. No, New Jersey is definitely in the house, but I'm trying to think of other North Carolina lore. I mean, this isn't really anything super groundbreaking, but I would say one of the unique things just about the Triangle is just sort of the rivalry dynamics between all the universities, Duke and NC State, UNC Duke, obviously, and
of course,
just the tension and the drama there. And that's something that I think folks from the outside, I mean, everyone knows the UNC Duke rivalry. I think people are coming more so to understand the UNC State rivalry, specifically in football, but it's just such an interesting dynamic where, you could go to your local grocery store and maybe, I'm a Tar Heel alum, the cashier maybe, has NC State ties, this other person in line went to Duke. I'm just throwing this out there, and you can just get into these debates and kind of banter with everybody. There's so many mixed workplaces, mixed families in that sense of people that have allegiances
people do that up here all the time.
But there's it's a dynamic that I don't think you really get until you come here, because I've had a number of sports fans that are friends that have come here from other places, even up and down the East Coast, and everyone comes up to them and, hey, you got to pick. Oh, what do you mean? I can't just cheer for all the local teams. No, you have to pick. So it's something that even those that are familiar with, the quote unquote UNC Duke rivalry, and just follow sports in general, they come here and they don't get it until they're here. So that's what I'll say.
Yeah, I mean in a non-sports sense, like for Jersey, people debate about whether Central Jersey exists, which it does.
How do you feel about pumping your own gas?
I love it.
Versus having,
but we don't do it.
Okay, so
I mean, it's fine. I mean, okay, I know where you were going with that, and I kind of responded weirdly. It's fine.
Okay.
Like, I know how to do it.
But you would rather someone do it for you?
The first time I did pump my own gas was when I was 22, 23.
That's insane.
When I moved down to Maryland for grad school.
Okay.
I got my master's at UMD.
Nice.
And my roommate, she grew up in Pennsylvania. She showed me how to pump my own tank. It was a fun time. Shout out to Sarah Syok. great friend. Yeah, I pumped my first gas tank when I was 22.
Yeah, that's too long to wait. I will say I appreciate it from a standpoint of just creating jobs, right?
Yeah.
That's good, economy wise. But I do remember,
I mean,
there's been one or two times that I've had to stop in Jersey on road trips, and it always gets me. I'm always about to
you're always
step
getting
out
out
and
of
then
your
wait.
car.
Oh, hold up,
Yeah, no.
my bad. So, anyways,
Yeah.
that's one of
I
the.
mean, listen, people won't like slam your door shut and be like, "Hey, stay in the car." But
No, I
like,
mean they're very respectful about it, but it's always just a little
yeah,
bit jarring.
sure. That no, and it does make sense. And I feel the same way. Like, I feel like there's almost more states that have it, and then I forget that like, oh, this isn't a thing. Like, where I live is very close to New York. I'm never driving in New York City, but
Right.
like, you even there, like, it's like, oh, you have to do it there too, even though we're so close.
Right.
But
Anywho's. But getting into the state lore.
there's so much of it, and there's also so much UNC lore. But let's talk about journalism lore a little bit.
Okay,
What do you wish people knew about journalism, or your role specifically as a beat reporter that not many get to see on the outside?
Yeah, I mean, what do I wish that people knew about journalism or me as a beat reporter? I would say for us, honestly, just the access really is everything, and that's something that I
Sure.
think has become increasingly restricted at a college level. And I don't think it's necessarily because certain like SIDs, the sports information directors, comm directors want to be closed off, but just
Yeah.
it kind of varies staff by staff, and you have some coaches, some staffs of various teams that are more media savvy, media friendly. They, get it, so to speak, from our standpoint, and some
Yes.
that don't, or maybe more media verse, more closed off. And it really is everything. The access is everything. The relationships are everything. And just being able to have downtime with coaches, players, that sort of thing, to build a relationship, to build trust, and not just in press conference settings, not just in settings where I have 5 minutes to ask you very poignant questions about a game, but just more kind of open access, being able to grab players coming off the fields. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, they that used to be the case in colleges, very similar to sort of what you see as like training camps set up in the NFL, and you don't have that anymore. There's less of an opportunity, just the downtime to ask, hey, how's your mom doing? Or, you said that you were watching this show that I'm watching. Oh my gosh, did you see this season finale? That was crazy, right? Just,
Yeah.
chop it up with someone. And that stuff, it sounds stupid, but I've increasingly found myself just kind of asking, SIDs or comms folks, just, hey, when we're at this upcoming media event, etc., could I just get 5 minutes just to say hi, talk to coach? Not for anything per se, but
Sure.
literally just to say hi, have that downtime. Again, some coaches and staffs get it, some don't, but that's one thing that I would say is maybe missing, or maybe folks don't get, is just more of the openness, the open access, that trust, and the relationships. Yeah. So anyway, kind of went on a bit of a tangent, but I think that's one thing that I would say.
No, and that makes sense. Access is everything. And to your question, to your point that you just made, like, were you being granted that access that you just mentioned? Like, if you wanted to be at a media event and say, hey, can I talk to coach or whatever, were you being granted that access in those situations, or not so much?
It depends. I think it's just kind of, if the coach feels like it.
Sure.
I think it's a situation by situation basis.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Something else I'm curious about as well is, I mean, and I know I felt this way going from my undergrad at Rider, very small school, mid-major, to my master's program at the University of Maryland, huge Big Ten school. Is it a misconception in the journalism industry that, I guess from like a student perspective, that it's harder to get access at like a larger, high major program?
It's harder to get. Is it a Again, I think it really depends, because I can't really speak to.
Also, I feel like I phrased that poorly, so.
No, okay, rephrase it. Go ahead. What was your experience at Rider?
Sure, like when I was at Rider, I had all the access in the world. Like,
okay, yeah. So it's different.
I'm the only person in certain press conferences. It's me or maybe two other reporters, if that. And by the time I graduated, I'd like to say that like we got a more involved kind of base and such. But transitioning to Maryland, I was like, this is a gigantic school. Nobody knows me. Like, this is a big program, nationally televised games. I don't think I'm going to get access to anybody. It's going to be very hard. Whereas with Ryder, I texted our coach, women's basketball coach, directly. Like, she was a friend.
Yeah, that's awesome. You can certainly get that access, I think, at big-time college programs if you push for it and if you show up and you intentionally build those relationships. But it obviously is difficult and depends on the coaching staff. Obviously, Bill Belichick at UNC, that's one extreme, side of the spectrum where he's very closed off to the media and always has been that way. But you also have programs within the school that may be based on, like, quote-unquote, stature are more restricted versus I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. Like, for instance, with men's and women's basketball, I would say that they are very open as they can be given the level of attention the media requests that they get, those sorts of things. But obviously something like field hockey or one of those teams, I might be able to just come and watch spring practice if I'm invited to. And that's also a major program. But I think that's a level of access afforded because they get less media coverage in general, outside of obviously just coverage of Erin Matson, just the complete badass that she is. But yeah, so I would say it depends. But then also there's some cases where, I've had experiences where, let's say I'm covering men's or women's soccer and the team loses and, all right, we're not bringing any players out. You're just talking to a coach. And that's something
I know that feeling.
That's something that would never happen with football, men's and women's basketball, because you're saying no and you're frustrating a lot more media members. And there's sort of more of a precedent set with Professional Football Writers Association or Basketball Writers Association. Like, there are institutions there that will maybe like fight back or push back and release a statement about XYZ. You see what I'm saying? But that's not happening at a random like women's soccer, men's soccer game. So I don't have like an easy answer to that. It really depends.
I definitely think it answers the question for sure.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely. What stories do you think you wish, SIDs came to you more with? What are the types of stories that get Shelby Swanson going and be like, I really want to write this one up?
Yeah, for me, it's just anything that is sports related but not sports, if that makes sense. So
explain that one a little bit.
Yeah. So I think it's something that hits on a universal theme within a sports context. So a few examples I would say are the story I wrote recently about UNC football. They have a team chaplain, Mitch Mason, that's been going through a number of health issues.
Great story, by the way.
It's really, I appreciate it. Really, really serious health issues that just multiplied over the years, but he's continued to show up and persevere and be a symbol of resilience for the team, and the team is really rallying around him as he's continuing in his health battle. And that's a story that obviously Mitch is very closely tied with the football program, and it's a sports story because of his position, but really the themes that it's hitting on is just the theme of resilience, which you can get and you can kind of connect to it whether or not you're a football fan or not. Yeah. So I think those are the stories that I find really interesting. Anything that touches on maybe money, power, secrecy within a sports context, or even sports and politics. Let's say I'm kind of following some leads this month trying to work on a project about just international athletes and immigration struggles and just like issues with trying to obtain visas. And there's this whole debate over whether or not athletes in this current landscape should be getting F1 visas, which are for, student, like any international students getting an F1 visa, versus a P1 visa, which is what professional athletes that are coming here for, say if I'm a player and I want to play for the Hurricanes and I'm coming from Russia or wherever, I'm on a P1 visa. Right. That's stuff that, there's obviously, not to get political, but obviously immigration is a really hot button topic, and that's something that people can relate to and might be curious to see how international athletes are navigating that, whether or not they really care about their respective team or not. So any way that I can use sports as a vehicle to tell a larger story about humanity, to shed light on a certain topic, that's what I find the most interesting versus stuff that's really, X's and O's based, if you're a traditional gamer. All of that is, good and fine, and I also love helping folks connect to their favorite teams as a source of entertainment, but I think it's way more interesting when you can tell a story that's, again, is about sports, but it's really not about sports. That's what I find the coolest.
Yeah, for sure. So I wanted to know what you are most entertained by away from journalism. What are some of Shelby Swanson's other passions that are not journalism or work related?
It's funny. I feel like a lot of folks, throw around the idea of work-life balance, and you have your work things, and you have your things in your personal life that you're really interested in. I follow that to a certain extent, but for me it's more of like work-life integration. Like, I think the things that I report on, and again, like, not to get corny, but the things that I report on and I'm curious about from like a work standpoint, a reporter, are genuinely entertaining to me and a point of like curiosity outside of work. So sometimes after a long day of I would joke about this this summer when there'd be some long days when I was covering the links for the Minnesota Star Tribune. That's where I was interning this summer after I graduated from Carolina in the spring. But I might have a really long day where, let's say I go to a Timberwolves press conference, and then I'm writing a preview for this Lynx game, and then at the end of the workday where I've been writing about basketball, I might go outside and shoot some hoops and just kind of get a workout in at the local park, and then watch another WNBA game that's on that night, or watch a Diana Taurasi documentary, what have you. And that's a full and complete day to me, because I got some work done, I got outside, I got a workout in, and I also just got to some chill TV time on the couch, all basketball related. But it's like that's what I love. So maybe that's balanced to some people, maybe it's insanity to others. But no, on a serious note though, I will say some things that I just love outside of sport, just music, art in general. We were talking about this a little bit earlier, but I just have a really varied taste in music. I'm trying to actually I can show this off because
please.
It's not that messy currently, but okay, so like I got like my book collection here. Always trying.
What's the latest obsession?
The latest
book we're reading?
Okay, so what I've been reading recently, it's not here, but it's over on the other side of my room, is this book by Questlove, and it's Hip Hop is History. And so it's just about, like hip hop history, and also kind of looking at different eras of hip hop and rap and what was going on in the US and how it was maybe like reflected or rebuked in that music. So that's really cool. And then the other thing, I'm a huge music nerd. So the other thing that maybe you could see, maybe you couldn't, but I have like my record player down.
Oh, me too.
Here. So
right over there.
There you go. And then what you saw besides that was a bunch of posters that's been my project this week. I've been meaning to put it up, but the work comes and then you completely forget about that side project. But it's
I
gonna
know
happen.
that
I'm
well.
gonna make some time for it this weekend. Okay,
I
but
know that very well.
you know how it be. But
I
then
do.
As you will maybe soon see that a lot of my music posters, or a lot of my posters are, again, like music, pop culture related. So that's what I'm into. But again, there's a lot of overlap even between that and sports and some of the things I write. So it all feels in like the same wheelhouse to me.
Definitely. If you could pick, let's say you're driving from, your apartment to, the Dean Dome.
Okay.
What?
It's like 5 minutes away, by the way, so I can get like maybe 2 songs in max.
All right. So is the football stadium a little further?
Yeah, let's say we got like 10 minutes.
Let's go football stadium to your apartment. Okay. What songs are being played?
Okay, so I'm trying to think. I think honestly, we're probably gonna get, and I'm basing this off of what I was bumping from the Smith Center back to my apartment today. We got a little Bad Bunny. Okay, I'm really excited about, obviously, him being named the halftime performer for the Super Bowl, and I think it was honestly a really smart decision by them. Just side note, because of the new audience that it potentially opens them up to. I mean, such an internationally acclaimed artist, and so I think, and anyways, it's getting some blowback. I think it was a really smart decision, if my opinion matters in any respect in that sense. So a Bad Bunny song, okay, definitely. And I've been trying to get into some Freddie Gibbs. I'm seeing him next week. A lot of it kind of depends on, I go to a lot of like live music events in the area, concerts. Love it. So I'll kind of pick what I'm listening to based on, what is my next show or two coming up. And so I'm seeing Freddie Gibbs soon, also seeing JID later, so I've been listening to some of that. As you can probably tell by the book rec, big fan of hip hop.
Nice.
And yeah, this also very much depends on, am I coming back from like a midday presser, or am I coming back from like a football game? It's really late at night, and then I need some R&B. I need something chill because I'm trying to wind down and go to sleep. So
makes sense.
It kind of depends on the content. I'm not bumping the reggaeton if it's like 1 a.m. and I'm ready to
just knock out.
Yeah, no.
That makes sense. Something I've admired about you is how you make your work so fun.
I appreciate that.
I think you really like to find the joy in your work. I loved your "I'm Coming Home" graphic. That
come on.
I think that was it a friend or your brother made that for you?
So one of my friends made it. So I have done this with pretty much every.
I saw, like you've done it for your internship as well.
Yeah, and again, like I'm 22. Like I haven't done that much in my very short-lived career, but I feel like every time that there's a new announcement, whether it's just something small like, oh, this is where I'm interning this summer, or, I just got promoted to sports editor at the student paper, or I made one when I was going to the Minnesota Star Tribune this past summer when I was coming back to the NNO full-time. I forget where it started. I think it might have started when I was named sports editor at the Daily Tar Heel, but I was just inspired, like, okay, we see all these athletes, they're doing the Tipton edits and these cool graphics when they commit somewhere. So, okay, I'm in sports media, so why not apply that same like energy and that same vibe to when I post on Twitter or LinkedIn. For LinkedIn, I'll usually come up with a more like professional version of the graphic, but then Twitter, maybe it's a little bit more fun. So in the past, it's been my brother Will, who goes to NC State, and he's super.
Oh, he goes to NC State?
He does go to NC State. Yeah.
So you're in a divided family.
Well, I'm in a divided family. So
wow.
Half NC State. Yeah, it's a lot of us. And so he's really artsy. He usually makes them for me. And so, yeah, I think for a while it was still pinned to my Twitter. I don't think it is anymore. But this most recent graphic was actually made by one of my friends that I interned with, Arwen, up in Minneapolis, because my brother was like busy or something. So whatever, we found another person who was nifty on the Photoshop, and she knocked it out. And we actually, like, we spent some time on that too, because I'd send her back some edits of, oh, maybe, change this font or change the color, whatever. But yeah, it's just really cool and kind of speaks to, every time maybe I do something, cool in my career. Again, just the few times that, that has happened, just the friends and family that are so excited for me, and it's kind of become a funny bit now. But I don't know, it's like at the end of the day, like it is work, don't get it wrong, but we are, reporting and writing about sports, and I think you just kind of need to remember that at the end of the day, it's just ball. It should be fun. Sometimes it's stressful, sometimes it can turn scary, sad, depending on the news cycle and
definitely
what is the news of the day. But it's a game at the end of the day, and so you just kind of have to remember who you were, that kid at 8 or 9 in your bedroom, wrapping your softball glove up and stuffing it under your mattress to break it in, or all the times that you just sat at home just flicking a basketball to get the rotate, and just like tap into that kind of that childhood joy, that inner joy that sports bring. And so, and again, that's something I try and live into most of the time. Some days can be hard, but you just got to remind yourself of that as much as possible. You do it because you're passionate. At least that's what I hope. That's what I believe. So you gotta. Anyway, don't get me started, man. You got me on a tangent, but you got to do it because you truly you love it, and you got to find just something that you're curious about, a story that you're passionate to tell every day, and that's, I think, what's kind of keeps you chugging along, even when it can get busy, the days can get long, and
absolutely. Something I was also curious about, you were talking about stories when you were young, and how you were young. I read that you and your dad are doing a stadium tour, MLB stadium tour,
stadium
and
tour,
you loved you love how he tells you stories on your cross country journeys. What has been one that's like stood out to you?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think, and I can't remember super. I'm trying to think. It all kind of blends together, honestly, over the years, because some of these I was really young, obviously, but I think one of the ones that maybe stood out to me was probably hearing about him just talk to me about Dustin Pedroia, who he used to play second base for the Red Sox. We're big Red Sox fans, our family, so this is a hard day that you're speaking to me, but, but losing the wild card. But I think probably what stood out to me the most about that was just him, being so undersized. And I mean, it's just a classic underdog story. There was nothing super extraordinary about it, but that's one of the ones that I just remember really sticking out to me, because I was a scrawny, unathletic kid, and I remember just thinking, okay, Dustin Pedroia found a way to fit in, so even in some spaces where I maybe feel like an outsider, feel less than, just to remind myself to keep working at it, keep chipping at it. Obviously that I don't really apply that to a sports sense, because I'm mad unathletic as much as I try, and I still get my hoops runs in and everything, but
with the fixed jump shot, right?
The fixed jumps, again, put the elbow in, keep the elbow in, okay?
Yes.
But bend the knees, keep the elbow in. But I just think that's one that really stuck with me, and I just try and remind myself whenever I may be feeling a little bit of a imposter syndrome, and
it's the famous 2 words.
Yeah, I know. People throw it around a lot. I think it's a buzz term, but it's real.
It is a buzz term, yes. Yeah, one question I did want to ask was, talk about different stories that, you're writing, and things like you see in the media. What are some types of stories that like you wish were told more that don't really get the proper amplification?
I think maybe people's why for doing what they do, if that makes sense. And sometimes it can be just really simplistic, or maybe folks don't have a really super notable why. Maybe they're still trying to figure it out, but I think maybe the athletes that's maybe this is a star basketball player that was raised by a single mom, and he's doing everything he can to honor her and the sacrifices that she made to, again, I'm just making this up, to get him to where he is now. I want to hear about that. I want to hear about, maybe the hard times he had in his childhood, or just like the mom's relationship with him, impact on him. Getting more to, again, anything that can get to really who these people are at their core, off the court, off the field. That's the stuff that I think people really relate to, more so than, how many sacks this guy has through this many games, or, and some of that can be interesting if you get into some really nuanced things, like,
sure,
let's say this one technique that a team is using in terms of pushing off the bag and taking leads, or I'm just making stuff up.
Yeah.
The baseball fans, the baseball heads would love that, and something really nitty gritty about that. But I think that what most people can relate to are, again, those universal themes, those more human stories that connect us all, and that can relate us to the star pitcher throwing 100 miles per hour, because it's not, how he's worked on his slider. I'm never going to be able to relate to that, but I might be able to relate to maybe his mental health journey, or something that, else he's gone through in his personal life. Those sorts of things. I wish that we
definitely
told more, and we recognized more that, people are into this. It's not separate from what's going on the field, on the court. It's really part of that.
Right. So you had brought up something in the beginning of your answer. You want to hear about people's whys. So, my question is to you is, what's yours? What's your why?
Yeah, I think I'm still, I'm in my 20s. It's a period of self-discovery for me, so I'm still trying to...
You better believe it.
That's why, it's right. So I think I'm still trying to figure out what exactly that is, and I think it might shift and adapt over time. But for me, I think it's really just trying to tell stories that educate, inspire, unite people. And I think sports is the avenue through which I do that. So again, that's why I kind of keep going back to the same talking points, but it's anything like, my story that I did on the UNC football team chaplain. For instance, just having readers reach out, and oh my gosh, like, that was just a really inspiring story, and we can learn so much from Mitch and his example. Or maybe, I did a story last year about this local soccer league that this father-son duo started, so that Latino youth in the area would have a really inclusive and also just accessible place to play youth soccer, because of maybe being priced out of some of these really like upper echelon, like, kind of club teams in the area. So it just started off as like a youth soccer story, turned into so much more. It was about like immigration, identity, belonging, things like that. And that was a really rewarding story for me. So I think, just any way that I can use, I think sports, and people talk about this all the time, but our world is so divided right now, and I think there's so much, political tension and just like hatred, and everyone's kind of picking sides. And obviously, like, you have that in sports too, like, don't get me wrong, but I feel like sports can be a way to just unite people across those differences, almost a universal language. And so it's almost like a tool by which I think that hopefully, if I'm doing my job right, and you don't always get to do this, there's also kind of the daily drudgery of it, but kind of the end goal is to use sports as that vehicle to educate people, inspire people, entertain them, all those things. That's what I really like doing. That's kind of my why, I guess, if that makes sense.
I love that. I think that's amazing. So to wrap up, the last question I do ask everybody is, Shelby Swanson, just professionalism aside, like your work aside, just about you as a person, what's something you like most or admire about yourself?
What's something I like or admire most about that? That's a great question.
Thank you.
I'm trying to, I feel like I'm on like a therapy session, man. I'm really like getting to like reflect and introspect. Like this is awesome.
Well, that's good.
This is like cathartic experience, man. The sports profile, I gotta recommend it to more people. I think what's something I like or admire most about myself? This is hard because honestly, I am very self-critical, but I will say that one thing that I admire most about myself is I think I do have a genuine kind of, again, this is kind of buzzword, but growth mindset, in the sense that trying to take the positives out of adversity, or if I make a mistake, learning from it, admitting it, moving on, and trying to just grow and learn a little bit every day, even if, there's maybe a story that I worked on and I liked it and I get a lot of feedback, oh, this was great, trying to send it to a few colleagues or mentors of mine. Hey, what's maybe one thing that you would change about this, or a question you have, how might you improve it? Like, I'm always trying to learn, always trying to grow. And I think that's something that I admire, respect about myself, which even just saying that like out loud is uncomfortable for me, but it's important. So I appreciate you asking me that and giving me the opportunity to kind of like think about that a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought that was an amazing answer, Shelby. It's so awesome to see, your works, hear your story, and I'm super pumped to see, your work coming up for the college basketball season and the rest of football.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for having me on.
This episode is brought to you by Digital Sport by Hot Paper Lantern, a division of the PR, brand, and marketing agency Hot Paper Lantern. Digital Sport by Hot Paper Lantern helps brands grow at the intersection of sports, tech, and gaming. Learn more at hpldigitalsport.com or find them on LinkedIn at Digital Sport by Hot Paper Lantern.